The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's emergency room hummed their monotonous tune as Sarah Chen checked her phone for the 47th time. 12:47 a.m. The plastic chair beneath her had long since numbed her tailbone, and beside her, 6-year-old Emma was finally sleeping, her small chest rising and falling in a rhythm that no longer wheezed. The nebulizer treatments had worked, thank God. 3 hours of watching her daughter struggle for breath had aged Sarah a decade. She pulled up her messages and typed furiously, her fingers clumsy with exhaustion and rage. Emma's fine. We're ready for discharge. Get here now, Marcus. I've been calling for 3 hours. She meant to text Marcus at 550-147. Her thumb slipped. She hit send to 550-174. Sarah didn't notice. She was too busy staring at the double doors, willing her boyfriend to walk through them, knowing he probably wouldn't. Marcus had a pattern. Every crisis found him conveniently unavailable, his phone perpetually dying, his excuses increasingly creative. 20 minutes passed. Sarah was filling out discharge papers when her phone buzzed. On my way, 15 minutes. She blinked at the screen. That was fast, suspiciously fast. Marcus lived 40 minutes away, and that was if he was actually home, which she doubted. Still, relief washed over her. She gently shook Emma awake. Baby, time to go home. Marcus is coming to get us. Emma's face fell slightly. At 6, she'd already learned that Marcus's promises came with asterisks. Okay, Mama. 14 minutes later, a black Mercedes S-Class pulled up to the emergency entrance. Sarah frowned. Marcus drove a beat-up Civic with a broken taillight. Maybe he'd borrowed a friend's car. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. This was definitely not Marcus. The man was tall, perhaps 6'3", with dark hair silvered at the temples and a face that looked carved from granite. He wore an impeccably tailored charcoal suit despite the late hour, and moved with the precise, economical grace of someone who knew exactly how dangerous he was. His eyes scanned the emergency entrance with the systematic attention of a threat assessment before landing on Sarah and Emma. He walked toward them. Sarah instinctively pulled Emma closer. Sarah Chen. His voice was deep, accented, Eastern European, maybe Russian. Who's asking? Her hand moved to her phone, thumb hovering over 911. He stopped a respectful distance away, hands visible, palms slightly open in a gesture of non-aggression. You sent me a message. Emma needs to get home after treatment for asthma attack. I'm here to take you home. Sarah's mind raced. The wrong number. She'd texted a complete stranger, and that stranger had actually shown up at a hospital at 1 in the morning to drive them home. This had to be some kind of trap or scam or... I appreciate the gesture, but we'll call a cab. Sorry for the mix-up. She pulled Emma toward the building. At this hour, you'll wait 40 minutes minimum, probably longer. The child is exhausted. I'm here now. He gestured to the Mercedes. I assure you my intentions are strictly to assist. Right, because strange men who show up at hospitals in the middle of the night are always super trustworthy. The words came out sharper than intended, fear masquerading as sarcasm. Something flickered in his eyes, amusement, maybe respect. A fair point. My name is Dmitry Volkov. I live in Riverside Heights. That's where you need to go, yes? I saw the address in your previous messages to this number. Riverside Heights was indeed where Marcus's apartment was, a detail that made this even stranger. This man had not only responded to her text, but had apparently scrolled through her message history with this number. How do I know you're not some psycho who looked up my information? You don't, but consider, if I wanted to harm you, there are easier ways than showing up at a hospital with security cameras and witnesses everywhere. He pulled out his phone, showed her the screen with her message. You can photograph my license plate, send it to a friend, stay on the phone with someone during the ride, or you can stand here and argue while your daughter falls asleep on her feet. Sarah looked down at Emma, who was indeed swaying, her eyes drooping. The hospital's automatic doors whooshed open behind them, and a cold November wind cut through their thin jackets. Emma shivered. Against every instinct screaming in her head, Sarah made a decision she would later recognize as the moment her life split into before and after. "Fine, but I'm taking a picture of your license plate, and my friend is tracking my location." She had no such friend actively monitoring her, but he didn't need to know that. Sensible. Dimitri moved to the rear passenger door and opened it. The interior was immaculate, cream leather seats, and Sarah caught the scent of expensive cologne and something else, gun oil. No, she was being paranoid. She buckled Emma into the back seat, then slid in beside her. Dimitri took the driver's seat, adjusted the mirror, and pulled smoothly out of the parking lot. "So, Dimitri," Sarah said, keeping her voice light while her hand gripped her phone, "what do you do that has you dressed in a three-piece suit at 1 a.m. on a Tuesday?" "I work in international acquisitions. Sometimes the schedule is unconventional." International acquisitions. Sarah watched the side of his face in the dashboard lights. Sounds deliberately vague. "It is," a slight smile. "And your boyfriend, Marcus, what does he do that he cannot pick up his own family at the hospital?" The question landed like a punch. That's actually a really good question. I've been asking myself the same thing for the last 3 hours. He's not Emma's father. It wasn't a question. Sarah felt defensive anyway. "No, Emma's father died when she was 2, car accident." "I'm sorry." The words were simple, but something in his tone made them sound genuine. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Emma's head drooped against Sarah's shoulder. The streets were empty, streetlights casting pools of orange light on wet pavement. It had rained earlier, and the city looked washed clean, almost peaceful. "This is a nice car," Sarah said, more to fill the silence than anything. "Thank you. I find that quality items last longer, function better, worth the investment." "Must be nice, having that kind of money to invest." "Money is a tool, Miss Chen. It can build or destroy. The question is always what you build with it." That's almost philosophical for 1 a.m. Insomnia makes philosophers of us all. Despite herself, Sarah smiled. There was something oddly calming about this strange man. Maybe it was the exhaustion, or the relief that Emma was okay, or maybe just the surreal nature of the entire situation, but she felt herself relaxing incrementally. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course." "Why did you actually come? You could have ignored the text, or just sent a message saying it was a wrong number. Instead, you got in your car in the middle of the night to help a complete stranger." Dimitri was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. "My sister had asthma when we were children. I remember what those attacks looked like, how frightened my mother was. When I saw your message, I thought..." He paused. "I thought if someone had helped my mother once when she needed it, things might have been different for her." "What happened to your sister?" "She's fine now, lives in Prague. 3 children, all healthy." "And your mother?" "Gone, many years now." "I'm sorry." "As am I." They turned onto Marcus's street. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. The apartment building was dark except for the third-floor corner unit, Marcus's place. The lights were on. Dimitri pulled into the parking lot and stopped. "I'll wait until you're inside safely." "You don't have to." "I'll wait." Sarah unbuckled Emma, who mumbled sleepily, and lifted her daughter into her arms. Emma was getting too big to carry comfortably, but she wasn't ready to let go yet. She walked toward the building entrance, feeling Dimitri's eyes on her back. It should have felt creepy. Instead, it felt protective. She used her key. Marcus had given her one 6 months ago, a gesture that had felt significant at the time, and took the stairs to the 3rd floor. Emma's weight made her breathe hard by the 2nd landing. She shifted her grip and continued. Outside Marcus's door, she heard voices. Laughter, female laughter. Sarah's blood went cold. She set Emma down gently, telling her daughter to sit against the wall. Emma, still half asleep, complied. Sarah pulled out her key, slid it into the lock, and turned. The door opened onto a scene that would be etched into her memory forever. Marcus was on the couch, shirtless, with a blonde woman in his lap. Wine glasses on the coffee table. Candles lit. The remnants of what was clearly an intimate dinner for 2. The blonde shrieked. Marcus jumped up, dumping the woman onto the floor. Sarah, what the hell? What the hell? Sarah's voice was deadly quiet. What the hell? I've been at the hospital with your girlfriend's daughter for 3 hours, Marcus. Our daughter almost died tonight and you were here doing this. Emma's not my daughter, Marcus said, and Sarah saw him clearly for the first time. The selfishness, the cruelty, the fundamental weakness of his character all written on his face. You're right, she's not. Thank God for small mercies, because she deserves better than a father who wouldn't even answer his phone during a medical emergency. The blonde had scrambled to her feet, clutching her shirt. Marcus, who is this? I'm the idiot who's been paying half his rent, Sarah said, and you're welcome to him. She turned to leave, and Marcus grabbed her arm. Where the hell do you think you're going? Away from you. This is my apartment. You don't get to just storm in here and make a scene and leave. All your crap is here, Sarah. Your dishes, Keep it. Consider it payment for the last year of my life I wasted on you. Fine, get out then, and don't come crawling back. Sarah wrenched her arm free and walked out, scooping up Emma. She made it to the stairwell before the tears came. Emma was awake now, frightened by the shouting. Mama, what's wrong? Nothing, baby. We're just going to go stay somewhere else tonight. Where? That was an excellent question. Sarah had moved in with Marcus 8 months ago, subletting her own apartment to a friend who had signed a year lease. Her parents lived in Arizona. Her best friend was on her honeymoon in Bali. She had exactly $347 in her checking account and a credit card that was nearly maxed out. She had nowhere to go. Sarah made it down to the lobby and stood there, Emma in her arms, her daughter's overnight bag slung over her shoulder, and finally let herself fall apart. Great, heaving sobs that she tried to muffle against Emma's hair. The lobby door opened. Dmitry Volkov stood there, his expression unreadable. I heard shouting, he said simply. Sarah couldn't speak. She just shook her head. Dmitry took in the scene with those careful eyes. Sarah crying, Emma frightened, the overnight bag. He didn't ask questions. Instead, he said, You need somewhere to stay tonight. It wasn't a question. Sarah nodded miserably. I have a guest house, separate from the main residence, fully furnished. You're welcome to use it until you make other arrangements. I can't. You can. The question is whether you will. Sarah looked down at Emma, who was watching the strange man with wide eyes. Every rule about stranger danger screamed in her head. But those same instincts that had told her to get in his car earlier were speaking again, and they were saying something different than fear. They were saying trust. Just for tonight, Sarah heard herself say. I'll figure something out tomorrow. Of course, Dmitry held the door open. Let's get Emma somewhere warm. The drive to Dmitry's house took 20 minutes, winding out of the city center and into the hills where the real estate was measured in acres rather than square feet. Sarah watched through the window as the neighborhoods grew progressively wealthier, the houses larger and more set back from the road. When Dmitry finally turned through a set of iron gates that opened automatically, Sarah felt her stomach drop. The driveway alone was longer than the block where Marcus's apartment stood. Landscape lighting illuminated manicured gardens and what looked like a fountain. The main house loomed ahead, a modern architectural masterpiece of glass and stone that probably cost more than Sarah would make in several lifetimes. You live here alone? She asked faintly. I have staff during the day. At night, it's just me. He drove past the main house to a smaller structure set back among the trees. This was originally built for my mother when I thought I could convince her to leave Prague. She refused, too stubborn, too attached to the old places. The guest house, though calling it that seemed absurd given it was larger than most suburban homes, was dark, but became illuminated as they approached, motion sensors triggering warm exterior lights. Dmitry parked and came around to open Sarah's door. Emma was asleep again, exhausted by the night's events. Sarah carried her out, and Dmitry led them to the entrance, using a key card to open the door. Inside was beautiful. Hardwood floors, comfortable furniture that looked expensive but inviting, a kitchen that gleamed with stainless steel appliances. Large windows looked out onto the dark garden, and Sarah could see the lights of the city twinkling in the valley below. "Bedrooms are upstairs," Dimitri said quietly, mindful of Emma. "Two of them, both with en-suite bathrooms. Kitchen is stocked with basics. If you need anything else, there's an intercom system. Just press the button labeled Main House." He showed her the bedrooms, and Sarah laid Emma down in the smaller one, pulling a soft duvet over her daughter. Emma barely stirred. Back downstairs, Sarah felt awkward. "I don't know how to thank you." "No thanks necessary. You needed help. I could provide it. The mathematics are simple." "Most people don't do math like that." "Most people aren't very good at mathematics." A slight smile. "There's wine in the rack if you need to take the edge off the evening. Food in the refrigerator and freezer. I'll leave you to rest." "Wait." Sarah touched his arm, then withdrew her hand quickly, surprised by her own boldness. "Why are you really doing this? And please don't tell me it's just about your sister. Nobody is this kind without a reason." Dimitri regarded her for a long moment. "You're right," he said finally. "There is another reason. I told you I work in international acquisitions. That's true as far as it goes, but it doesn't capture the full picture. The business I'm in, Miss Chen, it makes you very aware of human nature. Most people, when they have power or money, they use it to take. To accumulate more power, more money, more things. After a while, it hollows you out. You forget what it feels like to simply help someone because they need help. So, I'm what, a charity case? Some kind of karmic reset button? No, you're a woman who needs somewhere safe to sleep tonight. Whether that serves my karma is incidental." He moved toward the door, then paused. "But if I'm being completely honest, there's something else." "What?" "When I saw you in that hospital parking lot, standing there trying to protect your daughter from me, from the world, from everything that might hurt her, you reminded me of my mother. The fierce ones, who fight even when they're exhausted, even when they have nothing left, those are the people worth fighting for. So yes, maybe I'm doing this for my mother's memory. Maybe I'm doing it because I can. Or maybe I just think you've had a terrible night and could use a small piece of good luck." Sarah felt tears prickling her eyes again. "I'm usually a better judge of character than I was with Marcus. We all make mistakes in judgment. The question is what we do after we realize the error." Dimitri pulled a business card from his jacket pocket and set it on the kitchen counter. "My direct number. If you need anything at all, call. Otherwise, I'll leave you in peace. Stay as long as you need." "I can't stay here more than a few days." "We'll discuss it when a few days have passed." He moved to the door, then turned back one last time. "Lock this behind me. The system will arm automatically. If anyone tries to enter without the code, security will be alerted immediately." "Security? I like my privacy. Sleep well, Sarah." And then he was gone, the door closing softly behind him. Sarah locked it as instructed, then stood in the beautiful, silent house, wondering what alternate dimension she'd fallen into where powerful strangers rescued her from hospital parking lots and offered her guest houses that looked like they belonged in architectural magazines. She poured herself a glass of wine, a red that probably cost more than her weekly grocery budget, and sank onto the couch. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus. You can't just take my stuff and leave. Get back here now or I'm calling the cops." Sarah blocked his number. Then she opened her banking app and looked at her pathetic balance. $347. Maybe $400 once her next paycheck from the insurance company, where she worked as a claims adjuster, hit in 2 days. She'd have to find a new place to live. Scrape together first month, last month, security deposit. Figure out what to do with the furniture she'd left at Marcus's. Emma would need to stay in the same school district, which meant finding something in this area, and the rents were astronomical. The problems felt insurmountable. Sarah finished her wine and headed upstairs. She checked on Emma, still sleeping soundly, then found the master bedroom. The bed was enormous, covered in what felt like Egyptian cotton sheets. She showered in a bathroom that had heated floors and a rainfall shower head, then collapsed into bed wearing a t-shirt she found in the overnight bag. She expected to lie awake worrying. Instead, she fell asleep almost instantly, her body finally. Sarah woke to sunlight streaming through windows she didn't recognize and had a moment of pure panic before the previous night's events came flooding back. The hospital, Marcus's betrayal, Dmitry Volkov and his impossible kindness. She checked her phone, 9:47 a.m. She'd slept almost 9 hours. Emma was still asleep, which meant the stress of the previous night had exhausted her daughter as much as it had exhausted Sarah. Downstairs, Sarah found the kitchen and started exploring. The refrigerator was indeed stocked: eggs, milk, fresh vegetables, cheese, bread. The freezer had meat and prepared meals. The pantry held coffee, tea, pasta, rice, canned goods. This wasn't basics. This was a full grocery order. She made coffee from a machine that probably cost more than her car and stood at the window looking out at the garden. In daylight, it was even more spectacular. Terraced stone walls, carefully pruned trees, a koi pond that sparkled in the morning sun. Beyond it, she could see part of the main house, all glass and modern lines. What kind of international acquisitions paid for this? Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I hope you slept well. If you or Emma need anything, please don't hesitate to call. DV." Sarah stared at the message. Who was this man? She opened her laptop, thank God, she'd had it in the overnight bag, and typed Dmitry Volkov into the search engine. The results were limited and carefully curated. A few mentions in business journals about international trade. A blurry photo from some charity gala where he stood in the background, clearly trying to avoid the camera. An article from 3 years ago about a large donation to a children's hospital in Prague. Nothing concrete. Nothing that explained the house, the car, the careful way he moved, or the security system he'd mentioned. Sarah tried different search terms. Dmitry Volkov arms dealer. Nothing. Dmitry Volkov weapons. Nothing. Dmitry Volkov criminal. Still nothing. Either he was legitimate, or he was very, very good at staying off the grid. Emma wandered downstairs, rubbing her eyes. "Mama, where are we?" "We're staying with a friend for a little while, baby." "What friend?" "The nice man who drove us home last night. His name is Mr. Volkov." "Why aren't we at Marcus's?" Sarah knelt down to Emma's level. "Marcus and I aren't together anymore, sweetie, so we're going to find a new place to live, just you and me, like an adventure." Emma processed this with the seriousness of a 6-year-old who'd already lost one parent. "I didn't like Marcus anyway. He was mean to you." "Was he?" "He yelled when you asked him to help with stuff, and he never wanted to play with me." Emma paused. "Is Mr. Volkov going to be your new boyfriend?" "What? No, honey, he's just being kind, that's all." "Oh," Emma sounded almost disappointed. "He seems nice, and he has a really pretty house." "He does. Are you hungry?" They made breakfast together, scrambled eggs and toast, and ate at the kitchen island. Sarah was just cleaning up when the intercom buzzed. She pressed the button hesitantly. "Miss Chen, it's Dmitry. I'm sorry to disturb you, but I thought Emma might enjoy seeing the garden. If you're amenable, you're welcome to join me." Emma's eyes lit up. "Can we, Mama?" Sarah hesitated. Every interaction with this man was another step deeper into a situation she didn't fully understand. On the other hand, they were already staying in his guest house. What was a garden tour? "Sure," she pressed the intercom button. "Give us 10 minutes." "Take your time." Sarah got Emma dressed properly and threw on jeans and a sweater from her overnight bag. She needed to get to Marcus's apartment when he was at work and collect her things. That thought was depressing enough that she pushed it away. They walked outside to find Dmitry waiting on the path that led to the main house. He'd changed into dark jeans and a black sweater, somehow managing to look both casual and elegant. As they approached, Sarah noticed something new, a thin white scar that ran along his jaw, barely visible but definitely there. How had she missed that last night? "Good morning," he said, smiling at Emma. "You must be feeling better." Emma nodded shyly. "I'm glad. Come, I'll show you the koi. They're very friendly." He led them down stone steps to the pond. The fish were indeed beautiful, orange and white and black, gliding through crystal clear water. Dimitri produced a small container of food and showed Emma how to sprinkle it on the surface. The koi swarmed, their mouths breaking the water with soft popping sounds. "They're so pretty." Emma giggled as one particularly bold fish nearly jumped out of the water. "That one is called Boris. He's greedy and pushy but somehow charming despite it." Sarah watched Dimitri with her daughter. He was patient, answering Emma's endless questions without condescension. It was such a stark contrast to Marcus, who had barely tolerated Emma's presence. They walked through the garden, Dimitri pointing out different plants, telling Emma their names and where they came from. The garden was clearly his pride. He knew every detail, every seasonal change, every plant's specific needs. "You do all this yourself?" Sarah asked. "I have a gardener 3 times a week, but yes, much of it is my work. I find it meditative, a way to create something living, something beautiful. My business requires me to think about destruction, about endings. This is the opposite." "What exactly is your business, Mr. Volkov?" He glanced at Emma, who was examining a butterfly on a flower. "Perhaps a conversation for another time." "That's what I thought." They walked in silence for a moment, Emma running ahead to look at a stone statue of a dragon. "I'm not a good man, Miss Chen," Dimitri said quietly. "I want to be clear about that, but I try to be a fair one, and I try to do no harm to those who don't deserve it." "That's a very specific moral code." "It's the best I can manage in my world." "And what world is that?" "One you don't want to be part of." He met her eyes. "Which is why I'll ask you to be careful while you're here. Don't answer the door for anyone you don't know. Don't tell people where you're staying. My enemies don't know about this property, but if they did, they might try to use my guests against me." Sarah felt cold. "Maybe we should leave." "No one knows you're here. My security is exceptional. You're safer in my guest house than you would be in most hotels. But I believe in informed consent, Miss Chen. You should know there are risks associated with me." "Are you a criminal?" "That depends on your definition and which country's laws you're applying." "Jesus Christ." "An arms dealer, specifically. I broker sales of military equipment between buyers and sellers who can't or won't deal directly with each other. Some of those transactions would be legal in the United States. Many would not be." Sarah felt the world tilting. "You sell weapons." "I facilitate the transfer of military equipment. Weapons, yes, but also vehicles, communications equipment, protective gear. I don't deal in anything biological or chemical. I won't sell to terrorist organizations or anyone I believe will use the weapons against civilians. But yes, fundamentally, I profit from conflict." "And you just told me this, why?" "Because I respect you enough to be honest, and because I think you're intelligent enough to have guessed anyway." He was right. The security, the wealth, the vagueness about his business. She'd known something was off. "I should take Emma and leave." "If that's what you want, I'll call a car service immediately. I'll also give you money for a hotel and first month's rent on an apartment. No strings. You helped me as much as I helped you last night." "How did I help you?" Dimitri smiled, but it was sad. "You reminded me what normal people's problems look like. How most people struggle with real things, sick children, unfaithful partners, money. In my world, problems are solved with violence or money, usually both. It's easy to forget that there's another way to live." Emma came running back. "Mama, can we see inside the house? Mr. Volkov said there's a library with 1,000 books." Sarah looked at her daughter's excited face, then at Dimitri, who was watching them both with that careful, assessing expression. She should leave. She knew she should leave. This man was dangerous, involved in things she couldn't even fully comprehend. Every instinct screamed that staying was reckless. But where would they go? A hotel would eat through her savings in days. She couldn't stay with friends indefinitely. And the truth was, despite everything he'd just told her, she felt safer here than she had in months. Safer than she'd ever felt with Marcus. "1 hour," she heard herself say. "We'll look at the library, then I need to figure out our next steps." Of course, if Dimitri was relieved, he didn't show it. "Come." The main house was as spectacular inside as it was outside. The library alone could have swallowed Sarah's old apartment whole. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a rolling ladder, comfortable reading chairs positioned near windows that looked out over the valley. Emma gasped. It's like Beauty and the Beast. I'll take that as a compliment, Dimitri said. You're welcome to borrow any books you like. There's a whole section of children's books on that shelf. My nieces and nephews visit sometimes. While Emma explored, Sarah walked along the shelves. The collection was eclectic. Classic literature in multiple languages, history books, philosophy, art books, and surprisingly, a whole section on gardening and botany. You read all these? Most. I have a lot of time alone. Reading is better company than most people. That's kind of sad. Perhaps, but I've found most people eventually disappoint you. Books at least are honest about their endings. Sarah pulled out a volume of Pablo Neruda's poetry, flipped through it. This is in Spanish. I speak 7 languages. They're useful in my work. Of course you do. She put the book back. Can I ask you something? Always. That scar on your jaw, how'd you get it? Dimitri's hand moved unconsciously to the mark. A business disagreement. The other party felt a knife was an appropriate negotiating tool. What happened to him? He learned that guns are more effective than knives, permanently. Sarah should have been horrified. Instead, she felt oddly calm. You killed him. I defended myself. He made his choices, I made mine. And you sleep okay at night? No, but not because of him. Before Sarah could ask what he meant, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Miss Chen, this is Lisa Bernhardt from Children's Hospital. I'm calling about Emma's emergency visit last night. Oh, yes, how can I help you? We need to verify insurance information and go over some billing. Is now a good time? Sarah felt her stomach drop. Marcus's insurance had covered Emma. That was gone now. Actually, can I call you back? I need to get some paperwork. Of course. Just call the main number and ask for billing. Sarah hung up, feeling sick. Hospital bills. She hadn't even thought about that. Emma's treatment had probably cost thousands. Money she absolutely did not have. Dimitri was watching her. Problem. Insurance. Medical bills from last night. I was on Marcus's plan. Obviously, that's not going to work anymore. How much will it be? I don't know, a few thousand probably, maybe more. I can set up a payment plan, but... She trailed off. Dimitri pulled out his phone, typed something. Done. What's done? I've paid the bill. You'll receive a confirmation shortly. You what? No, absolutely not. I can't let you do that. It's already done, Miss Chen. The money is nothing to me. To you, it would be a burden. The mathematics are simple. Stop saying that. These aren't math problems. This is my life, my daughter, my responsibility. And now it's handled. Fight me over it if you must, but the bill is paid. That particular problem no longer exists for you. Sarah wanted to be angry. She wanted to rage at his high-handed assumption that he could just solve her problems with money. Instead, she felt tears welling up again. Hey, Dimitri said softly, stepping closer. It's okay. It's not okay. I don't take handouts. I don't accept charity. I take care of myself and my daughter. This isn't charity. This is. He paused, seeming to search for the right words. Call it an investment. In what? In seeing what happens when someone gets a fair chance, instead of being crushed by circumstances beyond their control. Sarah wiped her eyes angrily. You're either the kindest person I've ever met, or you're setting me up for something truly horrible. Why can't it be both? Despite herself, Sarah laughed. It came out watery and broken, but it was still a laugh. Emma came running over, clutching 3 books. Mama, can I take these? Mr. Volkov said you could borrow any books you want, baby. Actually, Dimitri said, why don't you keep those? Consider them a gift. Really? Emma's face lit up. Really? A library isn't complete without readers. Books are meant to be enjoyed. Sarah watched her daughter hug the books to her chest, and something shifted inside her. Maybe this was crazy. Maybe she was making a terrible decision. But for the first time in years, someone was being kind to her and Emma without expecting anything in return. Or at least, that's what she wanted to believe. 2 weeks into her stay, Sarah wakes at 3 a.m. to Emma having a nightmare. She takes her daughter downstairs for warm milk and finds Dmitri in the kitchen, unable to sleep. He's reading, in Russian, and there's a vulnerability to him she hasn't seen before. Emma crawls into his lap without asking, still half asleep. Dmitri doesn't stiffen or push her away. He just wraps one arm around her and keeps reading softly in Russian until Emma falls back asleep. Sarah watches this dangerous man transform into something gentle and feels her heart crack open. They talk quietly while Emma sleeps, and Dmitri tells her about his mother, how she used to read to him exactly like this, how she died believing he was still a good person, how he's grateful she never knew what he became. But you're still that person, Sarah says. The one she loved, you're still in there. Perhaps, or perhaps you just make me want to pretend I am. Part 4, the first week. The days developed a strange rhythm. Sarah stayed in the guest house, sending out resumes during the day while Emma played in the garden. Dmitri was often gone. Business meetings, he said vaguely. But when he was home, he'd invite them for dinner at the main house. Those dinners were the strangest part. Dmitri would cook, actually cook, not just heat up prepared food, and they'd sit in his formal dining room eating Russian dishes whose names Sarah couldn't pronounce, but which tasted incredible. He'd tell Emma stories about growing up in Moscow, carefully edited versions that left out whatever darkness had shaped him. "Why did you leave Russia?" Sarah asked one evening after Emma had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from a day of playing. "I didn't leave by choice. I was encouraged to find opportunities elsewhere." "By whom?" "People who felt my particular skills were better utilized in international markets." "You're not going to give me a straight answer, are you?" "I was recruited by an organization that needed someone young, smart, and willing to do difficult things. I did those things. I made money. I made enemies. Eventually, I broke away and started my own operation. My former employers were not pleased, but by then I had enough leverage to make myself inconvenient to kill." That's a terrifying sentence, said in such a casual way. "It was a long time ago. I'm established now, respected even in certain circles. The old threats are mostly neutralized." "Mostly." "There are always people who want what you have, Miss Chen. The trick is making sure the cost of taking it is higher than the value of the prize." Sarah sipped her wine. Dmitri served excellent wine with every meal. "Do you have family besides your sister?" "My parents are both dead. I have cousins scattered across Europe. We exchange cards at holidays. That's the extent of it." "That's lonely." "Yes," he said simply. "It is." "Is that why you're helping us? Because you're lonely?" Dmitri smiled. "Perhaps, or perhaps I simply appreciate the company of people who haven't yet learned to lie professionally." "I don't think I could do what you do." "No, you couldn't. That's why I like you." The words hung in the air between them. Sarah felt something shift, a charge, an awareness. Dmitri felt it too. She could see it in the way his expression changed, became more guarded. "I should get Emma to bed," Sarah said, standing too quickly. "Of course." Dmitri stood as well, ever the gentleman. "Will you join me for coffee tomorrow morning? There's something I'd like to discuss." "That sounds ominous." "Not ominous, just practical." The next morning, Sarah found him in the library, working on a laptop. He closed it when she entered. "Coffee." "Please." He poured from a carafe. He'd anticipated her arrival. They sat in 2 chairs by the window. "You've been here almost a week," Dmitri said. "I know, I'm working on finding a place. It's just harder than I thought. The deposits, the credit checks, getting Emma's school records transferred." "I have a proposal." Sarah's guard went up. "What kind of proposal?" "Stay here, not in the guest house. Well, yes, in the guest house, but officially. I'll hire you." "Hire me to do what?" "I need someone I can trust to manage my household. My current housekeeper is retiring." The job would include overseeing cleaning staff, managing the grounds crew, handling deliveries, organizing my schedule when I'm in town. You'd essentially be running the property. I'm a claims adjuster. I have no experience managing estates. You're organized, detail-oriented, and intelligent. That's what I need. The rest you can learn. The salary would be $80,000 a year, plus housing in the guest house, medical benefits, and a stipend for Emma's education. Sarah nearly dropped her coffee. $80,000. The job comes with unusual requirements. Discretion, primarily. You'll sometimes see people come and go. You'll overhear conversations. You can never speak about what you see or hear. Never. The salary reflects that constraint. You're asking me to work for an arms dealer. I'm asking you to manage my home while I conduct my business elsewhere. You wouldn't be involved in any transactions. You wouldn't meet clients or handle any materials. You'd simply run the household and maintain your silence. And if I say no, then I'll help you find an apartment and we'll part as friends. No pressure, no strings. Sarah looked out the window at the garden, where Emma was playing with a ball, laughing at something Boris the Koi had done. $80,000 a year, medical benefits. Emma could stay in the same school. They'd have stability, security. All she had to do was work for a criminal and keep her mouth shut. I need time to think about it. Take all the time you need. But they both knew she'd already decided. Sarah signed the contract 3 days later. It was the most detailed employment agreement she'd ever seen, with clauses about confidentiality, non-disclosure, and what would happen if she violated either. The consequences were spelled out in legal language, but the message was clear. Betray Dimitri's trust, and she'd spend the rest of her life looking over her shoulder. "This is terrifying," she said, pen hovering over the signature line. "It's meant to be, but Sarah, understand something. I would never hurt you or Emma. The contract is to protect me from outside threats, not to threaten you. If you're loyal, you have nothing to fear, ever." She signed. The work was actually enjoyable. The house ran on systems that Dimitri had established, but that needed someone to maintain them. Sarah coordinated with the cleaning crew, the gardeners, the pool service. She managed deliveries, though she noticed that certain packages, usually arriving late at night, went directly to a locked room in the basement that she was forbidden to enter. She didn't ask questions. Emma thrived. She made friends at school, brought them home for playdates in the garden. Dimitri was often away on business trips, sometimes for days, once for nearly 2 weeks. But when he was home, he'd join them for dinner, ask Emma about school, listen with apparent genuine interest to 6-year-old's problems. Sarah watched him with Emma and saw something that made her heart ache: loneliness being temporarily soothed by borrowed family. One afternoon, Sarah finds Emma in the library, unusually quiet. She's drawing a picture: their old apartment, Marcus's place, and now Dimitri's house. "Mama, why do people leave?" "What do you mean, baby?" "Daddy left because he died. That's not his fault. But Marcus left because he didn't love us enough. And what if Mr. Dimitri leaves too? What if we're too much trouble?" Sarah's heart breaks. Dimitri isn't going anywhere. "How do you know? You thought Marcus wasn't going anywhere." Sarah has no good answer. Later, she tells Dimitri about the conversation. "I should talk to her," he says. "Maybe that's not." But he's already gone. Sarah follows, finds him sitting with Emma in the garden. "Your mother says you're worried I'll leave," Dimitri says simply. Emma nods, not looking at him. "Emma, look at me." His voice is gentle but firm. When she meets his eyes, he continues. "I grew up without a father. He left when I was 5. I know what that feels like, wondering if you're the reason, if you weren't good enough, weren't worth staying for." "Were you the reason?" "No, and you're not the reason Marcus left either. Some people are just not built to stay. They're built to take and leave, but I'm not one of those people." "How do I know?" "Because I'm telling you, and because when I make a promise, I keep it. So I promise you now, I'm not leaving. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. You're stuck with me." "What if you die like my daddy?" "Then I'll have lived knowing I got to be part of your life. That's more than worth it." Emma thinks about this. Then, can I call you Papa? Dimitri's composure cracks. Sarah sees his eyes go bright. I would be honored. One morning, Dimitri takes a business call on speakerphone while working in his office, not realizing Sarah has come in to drop off paperwork. She hears enough. A shipment, a destination, payment confirmed. She Googles the destination later. 3 days after that, the news reports an attack. Rebel forces in that region using newly acquired weapons killed 17 people, including children at a school. Sarah confronts Dimitri that night. Were those your weapons? The ones in the news? He doesn't lie. Possibly. I can't always track final destinations. Children died, Dimitri. Children. Yes. That's all you have to say. Yes. What do you want me to say, Sarah? That I didn't know, I suspected. That I feel terrible, I do. That I'll stop, I won't. This is what I do. I told you people die because of me. I didn't understand what that meant. And now you do. So what will you do with that knowledge? Sarah wants to leave, wants to pack Emma up and run. But then she thinks, if she leaves, does that change anything? Those children are still dead. Dimitri will continue his business. The only thing that changes is her moral comfort level. If I stay, she says slowly, I'm complicit. Yes. I'll be as guilty as you are. Yes. But if I leave, nothing changes except my conscience feels cleaner. Also, yes. Sarah sits with this impossible choice. Finally, I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more schools, no more hospitals, no more civilian targets if you can verify the buyer's intentions. I know you can't control everything, but if you know, if you even suspect, you walk away from that deal. That will cost me money, credibility. Some buyers will go to competitors. I don't care. That's my price for staying, for Emma calling you Papa, for me sharing your bed. You draw a line right there. Dimitri studies her for a long moment. You're asking me to choose between my business and my soul. I'm asking you to keep whatever pieces of your soul you have left. Agreed, but Sarah, understand that even with those rules there will be blood. There will be deaths, just fewer of them. I know, and I'll carry that with me. We both will. 3 months into the arrangement, everything changed. Sarah was in Dimitri's office, organizing his schedule for the following week, when a man appeared in the doorway. She hadn't heard him approach, which meant he'd disabled the motion sensors somehow. He was tall, blonde, with ice blue eyes and a scar that bisected his left eyebrow. He looked at Sarah the way someone might look at an insect. You must be the new housekeeper, he said in accented English. Russian like Dimitri's, but harsher. Can I help you? Sarah kept her voice steady despite her racing heart. Tell Dimitri that Alexei is here. He'll want to see me. Mr. Volkov isn't home. Then I'll wait. I'm afraid that's not possible. You'll need to leave and schedule an appointment. Alexei laughed. Schedule an appointment, you hear that? He was talking to someone Sarah couldn't see. A second man stepped into the doorway, darker, shorter, but with the same predatory energy. Mr. Volkov's office is private, Sarah said. You need to leave now. Or what? You'll call security. Alexei pulled out a gun, casually, the way someone else might check their watch. We are the security tonight, milady. The regular guards are taking an unexpected break. Sarah's hand moved toward the panic button under the desk. Dimitri had shown her where it was her first week. Don't, Alexei said, gun aimed at her head now. Hands where I can see them. Sarah complied, mind racing. Emma was upstairs in the guest house, hopefully asleep. The regular security guards were taking a break, which probably meant they were dead or disabled. She was alone with 2 armed men who clearly meant Dimitri harm. What do you want? She asked. I told you, to see Dimitri. We have unfinished business. He's not here. Then we wait, and to pass the time, Alexei smiled. Tell me, what does Dimitri pay you to warm his bed? It must be considerable. I'm his housekeeper. Of course you are, and I'm the Tsar of Russia. He circled the desk, gun never wavering. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Dmitri and tell him to come home. Tell him there's an emergency with your daughter. He'll come running. He's developed a soft spot for the two of you, we've noticed. And when he arrives, we'll be waiting. I won't do that. Alexei pressed the gun against her temple. You will, or I'll go upstairs and show your daughter what happens to people who don't cooperate. Sarah felt cold rage replace fear. Touch my daughter and I'll kill you myself. Brave words from a woman with a gun to her head. But Alexei looked uncertain now. Whatever he'd expected, it wasn't this. Sarah, Dmitri's voice came from the hallway. I'm home early, is everything. He appeared in the doorway and took in the scene instantly. Alexei with a gun to Sarah's head, the second man now visible with his own weapon drawn. Dmitri's expression didn't change. If anything, he looked almost bored. Alex, I thought I made it clear that our business was concluded. Your business is concluded when I say it's concluded. Alexei kept the gun trained on Sarah, but his attention was on Dmitri. You owe me $3 million. Payment was due 2 weeks ago. Payment for what? The shipment you failed to deliver. The one that was seized by Interpol because someone in your organization has a very loose tongue. That wasn't my fault. Everything is your fault, Alexei. You're sloppy. You're careless. And worse, you're predictable. Did you really think I wouldn't have security measures beyond the guards you so easily disabled? As if on cue, red laser sights appeared on both Alexei and his companion, 3 on each man, coming from different angles. Sharpshooters, Sarah realized. Dmitri had backup sharpshooters. Alexei looked around wildly. You're bluffing. Am I? Dmitri's voice was cold now, empty of all the warmth Sarah had come to know. This was the other Dmitri, the one who'd survived in a world of violence and betrayal. Take the gun away from her head. Slowly. Then you and your friend will leave. If you're very fortunate, I'll forget this happened. I want my money. You failed to deliver on a contract. There is no money, but if you leave now, you get to keep your life. That seems like a fair trade. Alexei hesitated. The laser sights didn't waver. Finally, he lowered the gun. This isn't over, Dmitri. Yes, it is. And Alexei, if you ever threaten anyone in this house again, if you even think about it, there's nowhere on earth you'll be safe from me. Do we understand each other? Alexei and his companion backed toward the door. Dmitri didn't move, didn't even watch them leave. His eyes were on Sarah. Are you hurt? Sarah shook her head, not trusting her voice. Dmitri crossed the room and took her hands. They were shaking. It's okay, you're safe, Emma's safe, I promise you. There were laser sights. Where? My security isn't just the guards at the gate, Sarah. I have people you never see, systems you don't know about. I told you, I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. Aren't you? He still held her hands. You work for me. You live in my house. You've become part of my life, whether either of us intended it. Sarah pulled her hands free. That man threatened Emma, because of you, because of your business. Yes. Don't you care? Of course I care, which is why Alexei will be dealt with, permanently. You're going to kill him. I'm going to make sure he can never threaten you again. How I accomplish that is my concern. Sarah felt like she was seeing Dmitri clearly for the first time. Not the gentle man who cooked them dinner and told Emma stories. This was the real Dmitri, the arms dealer, the killer, the man who solved problems with violence. I can't do this, she said. I can't put Emma in danger like this. You're safer here than anywhere else. Tonight proved that. 2 armed men got into my home and you weren't harmed. My security worked exactly as designed. Your security wouldn't have been necessary if you weren't who you are. True, but I am who I am, Sarah. I can't change that. The only question is whether you can accept it. Sarah wanted to say no. She wanted to take Emma and run. But where would they run to? And would they ever really be safe if Alexei decided to use them as leverage against Dmitri? I need time, she said. Take all the time you need. But Sarah, you should know something. What? I'm falling in love with you, have been for weeks. That's not a tactic or a manipulation, it's just the truth. And if you decide to leave, I'll let you go. I'll make sure you and Emma are safe, but I hope you'll stay." Sarah stared at him. She should have been afraid, should have been appalled. Instead, she felt something equally terrifying, the knowledge that she was falling in love with him too. "This is insane," she whispered. "Yes," Dmitri agreed. "Completely insane, but perhaps insanity is what we both need." Sarah didn't sleep that night. She checked on Emma every 30 minutes, triple-checked the locks on the guest house, jumped at every sound. Around 3 a.m., she gave up and went to the kitchen to make tea. Dmitri was already there, sitting at the counter in darkness. "Can't sleep either," she asked. "Alexei is dead. I thought you should know." Sarah's hand stilled on the kettle. "When?" "2 hours ago. Car accident on the canyon road. Very tragic, very convincing." "You had him killed." "I protected you and Emma. There's a difference." "Is there?" Dmitri stood, moved closer. "In my world, yes. Alexei would have come back. He would have tried again. Men like him don't accept defeat. They escalate. The only way to truly protect you was to remove the threat permanently." "And his family?" "Will receive a generous settlement from his life insurance. His debts will be paid. They'll be better off than they were when he was alive." "You've thought of everything." "It's my job to think of everything." He paused. "I know this isn't the life you wanted, Sarah. You're a good person who got tangled up with a bad man, first Marcus, now me. You deserve someone normal, someone safe." "You are safe. To me and Emma, you're the safest person we know." "But I'm not good." "No," Sarah agreed. "You're not, but you're honest about what you are. That's more than most people manage." They stood in the dark kitchen, the city lights twinkling below them through the windows. "I meant what I said earlier," Dmitri said quietly. "I'm in love with you, with both of you. The idea of you leaving, of this house being empty again, I can't bear it." "Dmitri." "But I understand if you need to go. I understand if you can't reconcile what I do with who you want in your life. I'll help you leave. I'll protect you from a distance. Whatever you need." Sarah thought about the last 3 months. The dinners, the conversations, the way Dmitri looked at Emma like she was precious. The way he looked at Sarah like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. She thought about Marcus, who'd been safe and normal, and who'd betrayed her without a second thought. She thought about her daughter, asleep upstairs, more secure and happy than she'd been in years. "I need to know something," Sarah said. "The weapons you sell, do they kill innocent people?" "Sometimes, yes. I try to vet my buyers to avoid the worst actors, but ultimately I can't control what happens after the sale. People die because of what I do. That's the truth. And you can live with that." "I have to. It's what I am." Sarah took a breath. "I need rules, boundaries." "Okay." "Emma never knows what you really do. As far as she's concerned, you're an import-export businessman, nothing more." "Agreed." "If there's ever danger, real danger, you tell me immediately. No more surprise gunmen in your office." "I'll do my best, though I can't always predict." "Your best, that's all I'm asking." "What else?" "If I ask you about something you've done, you don't lie to me. You can refuse to answer, but no lies." "No lies, you have my word." Sarah nodded. "Then I'm staying, we're staying." Dimitri's expression shifted, relief, joy, something deeper. "You're sure?" "No, I'm terrified, but I've never been surer about being terrified." He smiled. "That might be the most honest thing anyone's ever said to me." "I have one more condition." "Name it." "Kiss me." Dmitri crossed the distance between them in 2 steps. His hands cupped her face gently, so gently for a man who just ordered someone's death, and he kissed her. It wasn't soft or tentative. It was the kiss of someone who'd been holding back for months, who'd wanted this more than air. Sarah kissed him back with equal intensity, her hands fisting in his shirt. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Dmitri rested his forehead against hers. "I will keep you safe," he murmured. "Both of you, whatever it takes." "I know," Sarah said. "That's what scares me." After Alexei's death, things seem quiet. Then packages start arriving. First, flowers with no card. Then photos taken from a distance of Emma at school. Then a message on Sarah's phone. Alexei was my brother. You took him from me. Dmitri goes into lockdown mode. Extra security. Emma can't go to school. They can't leave the property. Sarah watches her daughter's world shrink, sees the fear creep back into her eyes. This is your world, Sarah tells Dmitri. This is what loving you means, Emma being a prisoner. It's temporary. We'll find them. And kill them. And then their family comes for revenge. When does it end? It ends when everyone knows the cost of touching what's mine is too high to pay. Days pass. A week. Emma stops smiling. Sarah barely sleeps. Then one night Dmitri comes to her. I found them. Alexei's brother and his crew. I can end this tonight. How? You don't want to know. Yes, I do. If I'm part of this life, I need to know what it costs. Dmitri tells her, an ambush quick and final. No witnesses, no trail. Is there another way? Sarah asks. I could offer money, a settlement, but they want blood, not cash. Some debts can only be paid one way. Sarah thinks about Emma, scared and isolated. Thinks about the life they could have if this threat was gone. Do what you have to do. You're sure? No, but do it anyway. Dmitri kisses her forehead. I'll be back by morning. He leaves. Sarah doesn't sleep. When dawn comes, Dmitri returns, blood on his shirt, something dark in his eyes that wasn't there before. It's done, he says. Sarah pulls him into the shower, washes the blood off him, holds him while he shakes, not from fear, but from the weight of it. I'm sorry, she whispers. Don't be. I knew what I was when you met me. This is who I am. No, this is what you do. It's not who you are. 6 months later, the woman in the mirror was someone Sarah almost didn't recognize. She'd let her hair grow longer, and the stress lines around her eyes had faded. She was wearing a dress that cost more than a month's rent used to. Dmitri had insisted, said she deserved beautiful things. Tonight was important. Dmitri was hosting a dinner for several business associates, and Sarah would be playing hostess. It would be her first time meeting the other people in his world. You look beautiful, Dmitri said from the doorway of her bedroom. She still stayed in the guest house, though she spent most nights in the main house after Emma was asleep. I'm nervous. Don't be. You've run operations more complex than a dinner party. This is just food and conversation. With arms dealers. With businessmen, some of whom happen to work in the same industry I do. He crossed the room, adjusted her necklace, diamonds, a gift for her birthday. They'll love you. Or they'll see me as a weakness. Let them try. His voice went cold. Anyone who touches you dies very slowly, very publicly. They all know this. That's romantic in a deeply disturbing way. It's the only kind of romance I know. The guests arrived promptly at 7. Sarah greeted them with champagne and canapés, played the perfect hostess, made small talk about weather and business and harmless topics. The men, all men, she noticed, were polite to her, almost deferential. Because they're afraid of Dmitri, she realized. They're kind to me because they're terrified of him. During dinner, Sarah excused herself to check on Emma. She found her daughter asleep, clutching the bear Dmitri had given her for Christmas. Sarah kissed her forehead, then went to leave. Voices drifted up from the patio below. 2 of the dinner guests speaking Russian. Sarah's Russian was limited to phrases Dmitri had taught her, but she caught a few words. Soft, weakness, the woman and child. Then Dmitri's voice, responding in the same language. Sarah didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. Absolute, final, deadly. The conversation ended. Sarah hurried back downstairs. The dinner continued smoothly. The men left around 11, pressing Dmitri's hand, nodding respectfully to Sarah. When the last one had gone, Dmitri locked the door and leaned against it. Well, I think I need a drink. He poured them both vodka, the real Russian stuff, not the watered-down version, and they sat in the library. What were you and those men discussing on the patio? Sarah asked. How did you? I heard you. I don't speak Russian, but I caught a few words. They think Emma and I make you weak. Dmitri was quiet for a moment. Yes, some of them do. And what do you think? I think they're right. You do make me weak. You make me care about something other than survival and profit. You make me want to be better than I am. He met her eyes. You make me vulnerable in ways I've never been before, and I've never been happier. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. What did you tell them? That anyone who mistakes love for weakness has never experienced either, and that if they ever threaten what I love, they'll learn the difference between mercy and weakness. There is none in me where you two are concerned. So, you're saying love makes you more dangerous, not less. Precisely. Sarah laughed despite herself. Only you would turn a profession of love into a death threat. It's my particular skill set. They sat in comfortable silence, sipping vodka. Outside, the city glittered like scattered diamonds. Dmitri, Sarah said softly. Yes. I love you too. I should have said it before. But I do. I love you, even though you're terrifying and dangerous and completely wrong for me. Especially because of those things. Maybe, I don't know. I just know that when I wake up and you're there, I feel safe. When Emma laughs at your terrible jokes, I feel happy. When you look at me like I'm the only thing in the world that matters, I feel seen. Dmitri set down his glass and pulled her into his lap. Marry me. Sarah's heart stopped. What? Marry me. Make this official. Let me be Emma's father in truth, not just in practice. Let me give you my name, my protection, my life. That's insane. We've established that insanity is our baseline. What's your answer? Sarah thought about everything that had brought her here. The wrong number text, the midnight rescue, the betrayal, and the unexpected kindness. She thought about the man holding her, who killed without remorse but who read bedtime stories to her daughter with infinite patience. Yes, she said, but Emma gets to be the flower girl. Obviously, I wouldn't have it any other way. He kissed her, and Sarah kissed him back, and somewhere in the back of her mind, she knew this was probably a terrible decision. But terrible decisions had brought her here, to this man, to this life, to happiness she'd never imagined. Sometimes, wrong numbers led to right places. Sometimes the most dangerous choice was the safest one. And sometimes, love bloomed in the most unlikely soil. The wedding is beautiful. Emma throws petals, Dmitri's sister cries. They exchange vows. But during the reception, Sarah notices Dmitri talking quietly with one of his security team, sees his expression harden. He catches her looking, smiles, mouths later. That night, after the guests leave and Emma is asleep, Sarah finds him on the balcony. What was that conversation during the reception? We intercepted chatter, someone asking questions about me, about my family. Sarah's blood runs cold. Someone new. Perhaps, or perhaps just intelligence gathering. It's too early to tell. So, it never ends. No, it never ends. This is the life, Sarah. Beautiful moments interrupted by threats. Safety that's always temporary. Love that exists in the shadow of violence. I knew that when I said yes. And now, any regrets? Sarah looks out at the city, thinks about the year that brought her here. The wrong number. The rescue, the revelations, the impossible choices. Emma calling Dmitri Papa. The blood washed off in the shower. The wedding. Ask me in another year, she says. Dmitri pulls her close. Fair enough. They stand together, Mr. and Mrs. Volkov, while somewhere in the city someone plans, someone plots, someone sees them as a weakness to exploit. And Sarah knows, really knows, that this is her life now. The danger, the love, the moral compromises, all of it. She wouldn't change it. But she's not naive anymore. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more amazing stories like this one. Tell us where you are watching from. Like, share, and drop your thoughts below. See you in the next one.